We're back, everybody. It said we've been live for 5 seconds, so you might have just been staring at us for the past 5 seconds. But hello, and welcome back to the Toffee Believes USA Late Night Extravaganza show. That doesn't all make it on the banner, but we just add new things to it. I'm your host, co-host, general cohort, Forrest, at USAEFC on Twitter and Instagram. And with me, as always, not as always, but as we tend to like it, is my good friend Quinn Bezazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazazaz At Cubez11, follow her. She takes pictures. Anyways, she does much more than that. We are back. I think it's been over a month since our last show, which,
Yeah.
sorry, everybody. Life catches up with us. We
Summer.
are,
It's also summer. It's hard.
it's summer. It's summer. Both of our industries are pretty busy in the summer. But
Mhm.
hopefully, this is you can kind of see this is a relaunch of the show, and through this upcoming season, the last season at Goodison, we'll hope to continue to do a show every week, and continue to entertain you fine folks, especially Irvin Kuman, who just continues to just shower us with love. Anyway, folks, so we are here today. Let's just do a quick catch up. Quinn, how was your summer?
Yeah, summer was great. Very busy. Obviously, the last few times that we've done a show, I've been in Alaska. Got back from Alaska last week. So spending 7 weeks in Alaska felt amazing. I miss my morning commute with mountains, but it's good to be back. Schedule's shifting a little bit, which is great. Ready to be back in a routine, which includes a weekly show and includes some weekly Everton with the
Yeah,
occasional break that's typically needed. But it's good to be back on the schedule.
even if it's needed, even if we're on like a losing streak going into an international break, I still hate an international break. It's like
Oh, me
we're gonna
too.
have 2 games, 3 games, and then there's gonna be an international break, and it's gonna be like, oh, you're just teasing us.
Yes. So I'm
Yes,
just ready. I'm ready to get back into it. Get ready.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
my summer has been busy, but been good too. I start a second job tomorrow, so my next 10 months are going to be very, very busy, but not so busy that I won't be able to be on with fine folks and talk as often as possible. Um, but yeah. I mean, it's been good. It was just about not really having the balance to bring Quinn in all the time, and just not always wanting to have a guest, even though we've had lovely Jake Holden on here before.
It's
And
my fault. It's my fault. I'll wear it.
nobody's
That's
fault.
okay.
You keep taking on all the blame, Quinn. I swear to God, we're gonna have
I'll
issues.
take most of
Anyways,
it. I'll take most of
we're
it.
done introducing ourselves again, and we're gonna get to the meat of our show. Talk a bit about the preseason,
Yeah,
everything
we
that
are.
happened, all the performances that we witnessed, positions we still feel like we need a player for. I feel like every show we've done this summer and in the sparse times we've done it has been like, oh, let's talk about transfers. Let's talk about the takeover. We're not going to talk too much about that this time. We really know what you all want to hear about, and that's Brighton Saturday at home at Goodison Park. The first match of the final season for Everton at Goodison Park. Quinn, are you sad?
I'm sad.
Let's get out
But
of
it's
there. Like,
but
no,
it's
I'm
exciting. I don't know, it's kind of exciting. I am just like, I mean, it'll be sad at the end of the season. New stadium's exciting,
it's
but
necessary. It's what we need. It's what
yeah,
we need.
totally necessary. Lots of memories at Goodison Park where yeah, so it's exciting. It's both sad and exciting. It's like I hope that the ground experiences some great moments in its last season.
Deserves it. It deserves it for sure. And I hope
Yep.
that every home match, the fans are just totally behind the team, regardless. I hope it's that
Mhm.
crazy atmosphere that have witnessed at the end of the past few seasons. Obviously, because we are
Mhm.
relegation battles and need it. But hopefully, we are just ready to celebrate Goodison and everything that it's been for Everton. Um,
Yep.
excuse me. Sorry, everybody. So let's get into the preseason. Preseason was mixed bag of results, few draws, bad loss to Coventry, decent win over Preston, and then we played pretty well against Roma, I would say. Quinn, did you get to watch much of the preseason games?
I did not get to watch too many. Watched all of the replays, or not replays, like highlights, which obviously doesn't show everything. But yeah, I listened to a few podcasts of the first few games. Got to catch a little bit of the Roma game at the end this past weekend, but was working. So, and then got to watch the highlights. So I've been in and out. It's also why I'm ready for the season to start, to be able to like actually set aside time and watch games. So
right. Well, because you can be forgiven for missing a preseason game, right? Because the result doesn't matter. The performances are hard to pick and choose whether they mean too much or not.
And I gotta pay so much for each game.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we could probably sit here and have a whole podcast about all the streaming fees, from the streams just going down completely. The fact that I mean, yes, they charge because they're self-hosting and they need to pay for the service, but it's still, I don't know. It's just, and it just seems a little off-putting, I guess. You're just trying to watch a preseason game, but it is what it is. I watched most of them. I didn't watch the Coventry game. I didn't really watch the Preston game. I did watch the Roma game, which is the one I really wanted to kind of sit down and have the time to watch. Because it's the most important. It's right before the season at Goodison, etc. Overall, I think that the full squad's performances were, pretty subpar. Weren't creating a lot of chances. We're really just kind of doing the same thing that we did towards the middle of last season. We were just a little aimless, a lot of balls forward, and just hoping that something fell for us. And it really wasn't until the second half of that Roma game when we brought on Ndai and Lindstrom and on these creative players that we've signed that we really started to kicking up a bit. So you've watched the highlights of the Roma game. You obviously saw Iliman Ndai's introduction to the game and the fact that he came out guns blazing right away. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's a great intro. I mean, obviously it's not his like league debut with us, but look, you love somebody coming off the bench like that, like a game changer, bringing energy, someone that the fans will get behind. So yeah, I was like, this is a breath of fresh air to watch this. Yeah. So really encouraging to me.
Agreed. He definitely came out ready. I think he had those first few moments where he was creating, he was getting on the ball, he was linking play up and running and being direct. All the positive things that we really needed in the middle of the park. Obviously, because Corey cannot offer that. I think after those first couple of moments he had, he kind of fell to the wayside. I think it was also because he was put out left to kind of shoehorn Jack Harrison in the middle, which I hope isn't something that happens too often, because I think Ndai is going to really perform the best in the middle. But that seeing that and seeing Jasper Lindstrom come on and continue to try to be the creative player that he is, and kind of he seems like a bit of like a jack of all trades sort of player where you never quite know. He's a bit unpredictable, which is again what we've been missing from the squad. We're almost way too predictable at times at last season. But yeah, I mean, it was good. So some players' performances that stood out. I think the one for everybody was young man Tim Iragunam. I feel very comfortable saying his name now quickly and fast. I've taken the time to listen to it over and over.
I just want to call him Timmy. I don't know.
Timmy, just call him Tim. Yeah, I think Tim works well.
I don't know if anyone else is going to call him that, but I might refer to him.
People do. But he's really come out in every preseason performance that he's had and made a very, very heavy impact, to the point where it's almost like you don't want to take him off and it's just a preseason game, because he's becoming, you can see these early signs of the engine that he has and the engine that he can bring into this Everton midfield. And hello, Dave Walker. I've only been in the world just a little bit, Dave, but welcome. Have you had the opportunity to see? Well, I know the highlights probably don't show much of him, because a lot of the work he does is not a highlight reel sort of work. It's very winning the ball back and making smart passes and driving the ball forward a bit from midfield. Have you been able to see much of his performances at all?
Some of that. I think the Roma highlights that ball that he played to Dwight at the back post, which was great. You can tell that he knows what to do with the ball, and the moments that they do show on those highlight reels from the games show good execution, which I think is like what we miss a lot of, is like the final execution, which we'll see if it leads to goals. But
Should.
Everything they showed looks really good. So I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah, I'm very much looking for. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be an important player for us if he stays healthy and continues to realize his potential that we are all now seeing. I think what's been a really nice added bonus for all of us as supporters too is the fact that we kind of brought him in with this whole PSR swap, right? And so when that happened, there wasn't like a lot of expectation that he was going to come in and then be a player for us because it kind of we all saw what Lewis Dobbin was and and understood that he was just a bit part player for us, that maybe he didn't quite have the ability to make it at that level. So I think when this PSR swap deal happened, we were kind of like, oh, we're getting a similar level of a player who probably doesn't quite have the ability to make it at this level. Maybe he becomes a bit part player for us. Maybe we send him out on loan. And it's kind of turned out to be, oh, no, we actually might have a bit of a really good player on our hands here, like a player who can really come out and who doesn't seem like the one of the things I noticed about him in his game is he doesn't seem to have very many limitations. He's strong, he's fast, good with the ball at his feet, makes the right decision. It's the kind of things you really want in midfield in the modern game. So it's been good to see the fact that this was not like, oh, this is just a player we're bringing in. It's become somebody else. Hey, this guy could start most of the season. He can make the midfield his own. It's now we don't have to find. This is our Onana replacement. We don't have to find somebody now.
Lord willing, that is true. Yeah.
What did you? So you obviously saw the goal that Calvin scored against Roma, and the only other goal I think he scored in preseason was a penalty. But his goal against Roma was very, very good. Fantastic bit of quality, good touches, setting himself up.
Strength.
Good strength, and just giving the keeper the eyes and putting it near post. He's got this little thing, Dom. He did it against West Ham too, where he's just this little chop across his body, this little step through his legs with his left foot to set him up on his right, and he just hits it for first time from that point, and it's just it works for him. If that's something that he can get down and make a signature move for him, he could score more goals. This is this is the Dom that we want to see with the confidence and the lack of injuries and the health. And it seems like in terms of him leaving, that movement has gone quite a bit down. There's not really been any links. Every now and again it'll be like, oh, Manchester United have talked about him, and this club has talked about him. This club is interested in him, but it doesn't seem like anybody is really willing to stump up the cash that we want, or to really pay him the wages on top of that. And what I don't think he leaves. This is something we can talk about later. But regardless,
sure.
It's meant like that we haven't needed to look at any other strikers, and we've kind of just said, well, he's going to start this season regardless of whether he signs a new contract or not. He's our starting striker, and that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think I could see him staying right now. The only way I really could see him going is if he comes out absolutely guns ablaze in the first 2 games and scores a lot of goals, and other clubs are like, all right, he's worth the money. Yeah, so I think he's staying, even if he has if he scores a goal against Brighton. And I expect him to be our goal scorer for sure. I do think that his confidence is up. I think him not playing a ton at the beginning of the season or mid last season, you could see his confidence rising at the end of the season. We've talked a lot about that on here. And so I do think he'll get out there. I think he'll play well. But if he comes out and scores 3 goals in 2 games, I think he's gone. I think people will fork up the money for him. But outside of that, I think he's staying.
Yeah. I mean, and finding a good striker, which Dom has developed into, even if at times he can be a bit wayward with his finishing, he is a very good modern day striker. That's just not something you find a lot of these days. So finding somebody who's got that strength and touch and intelligence to play in that hold up role is really important. So I could totally see him having a great start to the season, and some club like Newcastle be like, well, we have to sign him now, because if he goes on a free, he's going to have every club in the world trying to get him. So we need to just put it up now, because he's in form and he's going to be somebody that can help us get to our goals. So yes. What have you made of Jake O'Brien so far?
Yeah, he's a giant. I mean, that he's a tall player, whatnot, but even seeing him in the back line next to Tarkovsky, it's like, you're huge. You're huge. Obviously he's not highlighted a ton on some of the clips. So I haven't seen him play a full game yet.
Sure. I mean, I can speak
Um,
about him if you want.
you can what?
I can speak more about him if you want, if you feel.
Yeah, you can speak about it. I'm excited to see where it goes
Yeah.
with Jared
Well,
being out.
yeah.
I hope that he starts this weekend. That's where I'm at.
I don't think Jared's going to be playing until after the
No,
season.
yeah, I'm not saying Jared. I'm just hoping he doesn't put somebody else back there.
No, he's not going to do that. If he was going to do that, it would have.
I think
been
he
at
would
the
have
start
started
of
somebody else at the
exactly.
past game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think Jared's playing this weekend.
No.
I'm under no impression that Jared's going to be in that squad.
So Jake, when he came on against Preston, it was all pretty easy for him, especially with the way Preston played. It was very much suited. What he did was just balls in the box, headers out, set pieces, scores a goal, bang. Great introduction. Against Roma, it was a lot tougher because they obviously a much better team, much smarter players. And I will say that it definitely showed a bit for him that he maybe still has quite a bit to learn going forward when it comes against better players. I don't think he has the best turn of foot. I don't think he's very fast. He's obviously strong. He's obviously tall. He can deal with balls, from wide areas in the box. But there's just a little bit of nervousness about him that I kind of relate a bit to Michael Keane. And not that he's going to be Michael Keane and he's going to crumble every time he makes a mistake or just never have the confidence to do anything. But there were just moments like one of his first touches or real involvements in the game against Roma was trying to carry the ball out from the back and he lost it in a bad position and then Roma turned and had a chance. But it's just what he's going to really need to work on is being confident on the ball, and especially in this modern game. Yes, obviously he can be a defensive center back and just head the ball out and smash it away. But if we're going to be able to be a team that at least attempts to build up from the back a bit and find good balls out, he's going to need to find some technical ability and some confidence in that regard. He's a young man. He's got a lot of time to develop, so I'm not trying to gang up on him. I just noticed that against Roma, especially with their goal. It was just very much just a lot of ball watching. Nobody watched it run, nobody ball watching. And you would hope that is just because it's preseason and they're not communicating the way they need to. But it will be very important, especially with Branthwaite out for the you'd imagine at least the first couple of weeks, hopefully just that of the season, that they're going to really need him and Tarkovsky are really going to need to develop an understanding and a relationship and a trust in each other, especially Tarkovsky and O'Brien, so that going forward there can be that communication that we need and they can continue to grow so that we have three great center backs rather than we're back to, okay, well, we have to have Tarkovsky and Branthwaite starting every week. Now we can have, well, we have O'Brien here. Maybe he should be in the picture and it becomes a selection headache for Sean Dyche rather than, well, I have to pick Tarkovsky and Branthwaite because they're just my two best players there.
Yeah, and you don't want next season to come around and somebody offer a bunch of money for Jared, him go, and then us again be just stuck with James. And then it's like,
exactly.
Yep, exactly. Having a bunch of old guys on our back line is something that we're going to have to start hopefully avoiding in the future.
Something about, right? Because obviously with Coleman and Young, we have basically the combined age of a quite geriatric pensioner. Regardless, and then the last little impressive performance, from preseason, let's give it up for Jasper Lindstrom. I thought he's come out in the games that he's had. Obviously, he scored that very good free kick against Preston. But I think just beyond that, he's come out with a really good energy, willingness to fight for the ball back, which is probably a big reason why Sean Dyche and Kevin Thelwell looked at him as a player that could be something for us. He has a lot of work rate. As a creative guy, is always looking to play these little reverse balls and slip passes through, which is something we've needed. As good as Jack Harrison is in terms of getting the width and getting a ball in the box, he doesn't always make the right decision, and he's kind of a little bit predictable. He's getting the ball, he's cutting on his left, and he's floating the ball in the box. It's just about all he does. There's not a lot of intricate play. He obviously doesn't have a right back to build with, so he can't play any overlapping, underlapping sort of play either. Coleman can't quite get up there. Ashley Young can't quite get up there. He doesn't quite have that pace that go along with it. So you can give Harrison some some relief from that. But when it comes to having a player who is not just somebody who's just out wide, but is a playmaker out wide, I like what Lindstrom has shown me so far.
Yeah, and I would love to see him. I mean, not last season, but the season before, like he scored 9 goals, and so he's got goals in him, and so would love to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
So somebody said that they reminded him a bit of Kevin Morales, and I totally understand that. You just
Yeah.
hope that the attitude of Kevin Morales doesn't show up in Jesper Lindstrom at all, because that was his big
downfall.
Yeah, and it seems to be a trait of Belgian players in general, but he did have an added, whether it was taking that penalty in that West Brom game and missing it, or just being somebody who was keen to throw a strop every now and again. He just had that attitude that kind of made him a player that stayed on the periphery for too much, and then he also dealt with injuries. But he stayed on the periphery of the Everton squad for a little bit too much of his career to be anybody that was able to truly leave his mark on the club.
Yeah.
As far as maybe some concerning player performances, Dwight McNeil didn't really have a great preseason in terms of how he actually played. He kind of just looked a little lost and not really able to link up with anybody. I know it's preseason and he might come out against Brighton and be on fire, but there's just always this worry with Dwight and playing out on the left and how one-footed he is, that it's just not a lot he can truly offer in terms of something different. It's again the predictability aspect of the players we have. We have a player who's totally left foot, like literally 99% of his touches and passes and everything come from his left foot.
Yeah.
And it's becomes, well, players, every team knows how to play against him now, knows how to set up against what he can do. And so his usefulness on the pitch kind of declines as time goes on. And yes, there are games where he shows up a bit more. Yes, he has a good work rate. Yes, he tracks back. Yes, he provides decent width, but it just seems like there needs to be there needs to be some sort of
in the camera.
Some sort of change and his positioning or where he plays on the pitch, because it just seems like there's something else. There's just something with him that isn't quite mixing up the squad right now.
Yeah, like I said, haven't watched any of the full games, so it's tough to. And yeah, preseason, it's so hard because we've had great preseasons and then average or below average seasons, and we've had awful preseasons, then we've come out flying. So I would hope that.
It's hard to judge anything about the team based on preseason.
Totally. I think Dwight is one of the players in the squad, that I want to do well, and I know he can be a game changer, even if he's predictable. Yeah, so part of me's like, I hope that's just preseason. I hope it's just the preseason, like you said. Yeah. So, and I think of all the players that we're going to talk about, he's the obvious one where it could, or the most potential of this is just preseason, if that makes sense. There could be a drastic change. So that's true.
Seamus Cole and Ashley Young. I mean, there's not too much to really harp on them. They're just not really. They're just old. And Seamus, it seems like, is dealing with is some fragility at the moment. He came off against Roma. It seemed maybe like it was precautionary. I guess we'll wait and see Saturday if it's something that is a little more long term. But it's very worrying for me if we don't sign a right back on loan, just whatever, for this upcoming season. Plans for somebody like that Roman Dixon young man to get into the squad and play in that position, because we don't have anything else, unfortunately. And asking Ashley Young and Seamus Cole, and I mentioned this to our mate Danny. We're just a couple of injuries away from Michael Keane or Mason Holgate playing at right back, so it's a very concerning situation there. It is very much our weakest spot in the squad right now. It's just we just got to hope that there's something that's going to fall our way in regards to that position, that we can bring somebody in, or that we have a player that Sean Dyche feels is developed enough to play there. So.
Yeah. I would hope that Nathan Patterson sees the field before Michael Keane, or
I don't know.
I don't want Michael Keane at right back.
I know, me neither. Patterson has been hurt all preseason, and I really don't think Dyche likes him at all. And
I don't think he's in Dyche's plan. I'm surprised he's still around. I'm surprised him and his agent haven't said we want out.
But the only reason is because he's hurt. If he'd been healthy all preseason, he probably would have been sold or loaned out a month ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Poor guy. Honestly, poor kid, because he could have been like Mikolenko and don't know what all went on there, but
he didn't quite get the opportunities. He was signed by a
Yep.
different manager. Just it is what it is. And then Jack Harrison, I thought wasn't fantastic during preseason, especially in that first half against Roma. I thought he was really poor. I thought he was constantly losing the ball. And then what happened was we brought on Ndai, we brought on Lindstrom. Jack Harrison got moved into the middle and started finding his way out left. And it worked. Like, I want to see Jack Harrison on the left from now on. It just seems like he's so much more natural there. And what he can do with his technical ability and his crossing ability just seems like it will fit more up on the left. Start Phil in the middle, start on the right, put him on the bench. I don't know. Jack Harrison on the left seems like the way forward to me. But yes, so those were kind of the concerning parts of preseason for me. But we'll see what happens on Saturday. Saturday's looking good. In terms of transfers, it's from, I don't know if you saw this, Quinn, but there was a article, I think from a gentleman named Joe Thomas, put out, basically said that Everton were only going to be looking for loan signings for the rest of the window. Not quite surprising considering we're still not in great financial shape. But I don't know what sort of loan signings we could bring in. I mean, you look at Chelsea's squad and it's so big. How much of them are going to be involved? How many are going to go on loan? Maybe there's an opportunity there. I know Calvin Phillips is a name that always gets thrown around. I don't quite know if we need another midfielder right now.
Yeah. I don't know. But it is nice to have a bench with options of people to come off the bench.
True. But I would rather give somebody like Harrison Armstrong an opportunity,
a shot,
than bring in Calvin Phillips on loan, who had a really, really disastrous loan spell at West Ham. Like, he was pretty abysmal. Got sent off a couple times. Just seemed like a really abject,
a liability.
Oh yes, somebody that the team had to support rather than somebody that was trying to support the team. I bring up Harrison Armstrong because he looks fantastic. I was talking to Danny about this as well. You didn't get to watch the games, but against Roma, he came on in the second half. And for anybody who doesn't know, Harrison Armstrong is an academy product. I believe he's 17 years old, midfielder. And he's kind of just come out of nowhere and really made a really good impression on Sean Dyche, enough so that he's being involved in games like that Roma game, where it is the last preseason game and everybody involved, just about everybody involved is players who are going to be involved in match day squads going forward. And he came out there and just looked like he belonged. And that's one of the best compliments I feel you can give an academy player when they're first breaking into a team, is they get out there and they just look like they belong there. Everything they do is natural. They don't look scared. They come out there and he was going out there and making these great switches of the ball. He was trying to bring the ball forward and drive it forward. He looked like he had good energy. He looks a bit lanky and stuff, but he's a 17-year-old kid. You wouldn't expect him to come out there and look like they're built like a brick house. But it's just good to have an academy product to be excited to get about again, because it doesn't.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, since probably Tom Davies, maybe Adam Lookman. Who else? Dobbin was never really had the excitement going for him.
Yeah, he didn't have enough momentum, I would say, behind the excitement. Lewis
Dobbin. Yeah, well, in his performances, he wouldn't really come in and really affect play very much. Other than his goal against Chelsea, he didn't really have a lot of opportunities to come in and affect play. And when he did get out there, it just never seemed like it's sort of it's the opposite. He didn't look like he quite fit out there in terms of like what he was trying to do. It never seemed like he was truly in that headspace where he needed to be as a professional permanent player. Quick little touch on takeover stuff. Obviously, the Freakin deal is off, which is a real bummer because it seemed like it was something that was going to happen.
Oh, such a bummer.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I was bummed. It was like, and left turn. Out.
But all of a sudden, John Texter is right back out there saying, I want to buy Everton. Like, I got to sell myself shares for Palace, but I want Everton. What is it? Why is it all Americans? All Americans.
I mean, if I'm totally honest, I think it's just becoming the thing. It's like, especially with, and I know that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney's purchase is really, what's the word? Divisive. Some people really like it, some people not so much.
America.
I actually am. I think it's been a positive thing. I'm about it, but I think it's made it a flashy thing for Americans to like. Ooh, we thought about this, but never seriously, and now let's consider it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's suppose it's a different ball game where you're buying a club that's been non-league, right? That's yes, it's a
Yeah.
decent sized club in Wrexham, but they've been non-league. They've been a smart, been hanging out in the lower tiers of football for a long time. The money you
Hmm.
spend to get them to their point now where they're in League One
Yeah.
is probably drastically even if they're paying like Championship Premier League wages for some of these players.
Hmm.
It's probably the start of why people think it's wrong. They're sitting there buying the league basically. The money they spend compared to what John Textor is going to have to spend to bring in the club and sign players and all the many millions of pounds he's going to have to spend.
Yeah.
There's definitely a different aspect and ball game to that. I think what we really have going for us in terms of this takeover continues to be the stadium. That continues
Yeah.
to really be what I think most interests these buyers more than anything is that stadium.
Hmm.
That stadium, when it is done, when we're moved into it, is going to raise the
Yeah.
profile and the value of the club so much so that anybody who buys it now is going to see a fantastic return if they decide to sell it right after
Yeah.
the year's done. Because that's just
Yes.
such an
And
asset.
it's a stadium for the Euros.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
a
yeah,
multi-purpose stadium for
totally.
soccer-related activities.
Yeah, it's like Tottenham's new ground, It's
Yes,
like next thing you
exactly.
know, there's going to be an NFL game in
I
Liverpool.
wouldn't be surprised if there were. It's right on the river.
Yeah.
There's great
Yep.
views for it. Like it's got
Hmm.
all the opportunity to have so many different things going. But that is going to be all it's self-funded too. We're not going to have any debt. We're not going to be paying for it. It's going to be
Yeah.
paid off. That
You're paying for it in points.
paying for it in points. Oh, yeah, that's a good. Wait a second, yo.
Yeah. We don't have any debt. We're just paying for it in points.
My goodness, that's a good one.
Anyway.
I like that. Well, that's enough about preseason because we all want to talk about Brighton at home on Saturday. Well, the season's finally back. It's finally here. I am elated.
I am too. Oh my gosh.
So let's just start off. I took some time, looked into Brighton's preseason, so we could just talk about them a little bit. Obviously, we know both games against them last season finished 1-1. We scored first in both of them, conceded late in both of them to draw the game. Played fairly well against them. I think the running theme for both of those games was counter-attacking football for us, and Brighton basically having like 80% possession as they. It's a different sort of Brighton team that is going to be coming to Goodison. They obviously have a new manager, Huesle. I don't really know how to say his name. Who's actually an American German. He was born in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm. And here's the real kicker. The guy's only a year older than me, so I can't help but hope that he just has the worst possible managerial career. No, I don't hope that at all. But I hope that he has the hardest time playing against Everton for every club he ever manages. Yeah, so he was at FC St. Pauli, just brought them up to the Bundesliga 1, however you want to say it, which is the first time they've been there, and God knows how long. It's been a long time. I know they've been on the cusp for a long time. His preferred formation is the 3-4-3, so 3 at the back, wing backs, and players like Minta and João Pedro, etc., up the top of the pitch. Kind of expecting players like that to start against us on Saturday. They've made some decent signings this summer. The Minta that we were after from Newcastle, they signed. They signed Weifer. I don't exactly know how to say his name. He's a defensive midfielder from Feyenoord. They just finished a signing of a forward from Mainz, who's very exciting, this Gruda fellow, who I guess has been compared to like Thomas Müller, or Thomas Müller really likes him. Is one of those young talents that Brighton seem to like to sign. Signed a young winger from Nordsjælland in Denmark named Osman, and then a midfielder from Göteborg in Sweden called Yapkue. All very young players. That is the continuing running theme for Brighton, is signing 19 to 21-year-olds and developing them and throwing them on. And then it's just kind of having the supporting experienced players around them, like the Danny Welbecks and Solly Marshes and Pascal Gross isn't there anymore. Adam Lallana's not there anymore. James Mutter is still there, I think. Regardless, and surrounding them with the experienced players that have their Premier League experience and trying to develop the club that way. They are one of those clubs that have taken advantage of the rise of data-driven analytics and how they sign players and how they build teams, and it has been successful for them, and that's good. Football is changing, and eventually we're going to have to catch up and find a way to be data-driven as well. But I took some time and I watched some preseason highlights. Obviously, it's just highlights, they're not full matches, but I watched some preseason highlights of theirs. They had a tour in Japan, played a couple of English teams, and then finished out the preseason with a 4-0 win over Villarreal at home. And I watched that Villarreal highlights. It was only about 5-6 minutes of highlights. But what I noticed from Villarreal's chances was that they always came from attacking the left side. So the right side of Brighton's defense, which would be the left side of ours. And I believe the right side is where Matoma, I might be wrong. No, it's not where Matoma, it's where Beltman plays. But regardless, because they play this 3-4-3 and they play these wing backs push up further, which leaves the space up ahead of the wing backs. And then there's spaces where you would expect one of our wingers, like a Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison, to be. So looking at that and looking at the chances that Villarreal had where they were able to get those space, and then they also played quite a few through balls that seemed to make some impact. And obviously they didn't score because they had Arnold Danjuma playing up front for them. Guys, he's stuck at Villarreal now, I guess. But they played just decent. Obviously didn't do anything to score, and Brighton scored 4, and it seemed like Villarreal were just really switched off for all 4 goals. They were all pretty like the first goal was a good strike from João Pedro, but it was just because he wasn't closed down. It seemed like they were pretty abject in the way they were playing against Brighton, so it was hard to get an idea of how Brighton were really attacking. A lot of it was just winning the ball back and then just getting somebody into space. Minta looked very good, looked very lively for them. João Pedro looked very sharp. Danny Welbeck looked very good for them. And he's a player that kind of tends to cause us trouble, Danny Welbeck. So looking at their squad and what they might start with, I would definitely say that we're going to be coming up against some pace and a team that's going to work very hard. It's hard to judge it based off highlights of a preseason performance. We're only going to really know as we sit down and watch the match on Saturday. But Quinn, what are you expecting from Brighton?
Yeah, I don't expect. I am just really intrigued. I know it's a different squad from last year. The fact that their manager is so young and has not really. This is his first big job.
It's only his second job ever. Yeah.
Yeah, like massive jump from the last job, and so I think he's got. They do have lots of young players, like you said. They've also got a few like well-seasoned players like Lewis Dunk or Danny Welbeck who have been around the block and whatnot. So I'm intrigued. And yeah, James Milner's still with them. So there's Matoma's been there for, I feel like, quite a few
years
as well.
It's a very important player for sure.
I think it'll be a high energy game. Like you said, they'll come at us, but I'm curious I think that the manager could play a role in end of games like this season for them. And will he make it or break it? I don't know. Lack of experience, and the Premier League is so different. It's just so different.
Tough.
It's different.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and he hasn't. You would almost kind of look at it. He's never managed a top flight game too.
Yeah.
So it's going, like you said, the learning curve that he's going to experience is going to be really tough. You would maybe kind of look and say, well, maybe Sean Dyche's Everton is a great first opportunity for him as a manager because we're a bit predictable. We don't really change the way we set up very much. So he's going to kind of have an idea of how we're going to come out and attack them and be able to prepare for that accordingly. I think that I always think we could and should beat teams at home. I think we should beat Brighton at home. I think it's a perfect way to start off our season. But I'm also going to say that I don't really expect to see a very exciting starting 11 put out in terms of players like Ndiaye and Lundstrom starting.
Yeah.
I think he's going to revert to means, at least for this first game, and give players like Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, Abdoulaye Doucouré opportunities to keep their place in the team, as he did with Michael Keane at the beginning of last season. Whether or not that costs us is going to be what determines when players like Element and Die and Jesper Lindstrom get opportunities to start. But I do expect Timmy or Bonham to start. I expect Idrissa Gueye to start in midfield. I think that's going to become a very good partnership for us. I do think Decore is going to play in that 10 role, even though it's just not his role. Dwight McNeil's out left. He's a Deitch favorite. Jack Harrison out right. He's a Deitch favorite. DCL up top because he's the best striker we have. I'd expect Ashley Young to start at right back. Mika Lingo at left. Pickford in goal. Tarkowski and O'Brien. And you just hope that the team comes out ready. And even if it needs to be a sort of a case of holding and digging deep for 60 minutes, not conceding and just trying to find a way to keep ourselves in the game. You would hope that we can come out and be better. Yes, Chris, we've both been to Goodison quite a few times, actually. Yes, it's awesome, beautiful place. So many good things about Goodison, honestly. Yeah,
one of my favorite memories of my entire life.
Seriously, yeah. I'm almost like after I wish I could just drop everything and just spend this whole season following the team up and down.
Me too.
We're both very passionate in that regard. But I think there's a lot of talk and a lot of opportunity for us to come out and win this game. It's just I'm going to be a little frustrated. I know most people are with players like Decore and McNeil starting when we have players that can show something different in those roles, but we just kind of have to continue to do what we've done. We have to trust the manager. So just deal with it. Just there's no point in coming out and being upset and being flat at Goodison just because certain players are starting. We have to be backing them as much as we can and continue to make Goodison the bear pit that it's always been, so that this last season is Goodison at its best rather than Goodison abject.
Yes, and I've been to both. I've been to it at its best, and I have experienced it at an awful, awful point. But I would say that I think that plays a key role in this game too. I don't think it will be a super flat performance for us.
No.
And I do think, we should beat Brighton, obviously. Like you said, 95% of the time we say that.
Yep.
Like, should be. We should, but
what's your score prediction?
I do think, what's my score prediction?
Yeah, what's your score prediction, dude?
Well, now that we're talking about it, I want to change it a little bit, but I'll say what I put down. What I put down. I put down 1-0. I think we'll win 1-0. And I think Goodison will be a place to reckon with. And I think we will score somewhere in like the middle 40 of the game, like the middle 40 minutes. We'll start out average, finish average, play decent in the middle, win the game 1-0. So hoping that Dom scores. That's my prediction.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
TBL, I'm just going to put this up here real quick. I think that's a really interesting point. I can understand what you mean by that. Brighton at times last season and the season before reminded me a bit of Arsenal under Arsene Wenger in his later years, where they had a lot of style and flair, but all you had to do was get in their face and they crumbled. Obviously, they have not quite crumbled against us. They still have very strong veterans like Lewis Dunk, etc., leading the team and keeping the team together. But I get exactly what you mean. Yeah, so they seem like they could be a bit fragile at times. The reason that I chose 2-1, and I just want to talk about my score prediction. My score prediction is 2-1.
Yeah, what's yours?
Yeah, 2-1. I say 2-1 because Brighton seems like one of those teams that you're not going to be able to beat by just scoring one goal. I think we learned that last season. We just scored one goal against in both games, and they were able to score and continue to thwart our game. I don't know, man. It doesn't matter. Regardless, I do think it's a team we're going to have to score at least 2 goals against to be able to win. Because they're a team that has possession. They're a team that plays good, modern attacking football, and they're a team that's going to create chances. And if we aren't ready for those chances and we aren't ready to keep them hemmed in and score the goals that we need to, we're not going to win the game. We need to score multiple goals far more often than we score just one goal and win 1-0. I don't think in the modern game winning 1-0 is something that you can keep doing very often. Players and teams are just too good. And the attacking side of the game has just changed so much, though, that you need to be able to score 2 to 3 goals a game to consistently win all the time. That's going to be our biggest challenge this season, is scoring 2 to 3 goals a game. Can we do it? You'd hope so. We've added some good talent. We're going to need a number of players to help share the load with Calvert-Lewin. You need players like Beto to set up. When Shermity comes back, we need him to be able to be involved. We have to really hope that Ndai and Lindstrom come out and are ready and are able to adapt and develop to the Premier League. But it's going to be a really, really interesting and hopefully fun season. And when I say fun, I'm hoping fun is mid-table, no relegation battle, and a decent cup run. Let's get to Wembley or something. It would be really nice. Wait, just a touch on the cup. We had the Carabao Cup draw today. We got the same team and the same round as last year, just a reverse fixture. I don't. It's crazy. Life's crazy like that. So Doncaster coming back to Goodison. Well, coming to Goodison. We're seeing them again. We beat them 2-1 last year. And our first win of the season. It wasn't a great, amazing, scintillating performance. We went down and really had to bring in a bunch of stronger players to be able to win. But yes, that's kind of just how those.
That's when I had a lot of hope for. Was it that game where I was like, "Ooh, Beto could be great for us," and it's like, "Ooh, don't know."
Hey, well, look. I want to touch on Beto real quick too, because I think that he has tremendously improved his game this preseason. I know you haven't watched the games. But he has come out and looked so much more controlled, much more just knowledgeable about what he wants to do with the ball, what he wants to be as a striker. And that is definitely down to Sean Dyche and the team and the coaching staff sitting him down, being like, look, Beto, you have all the physical attributes, everything you need to be a fantastic player at this level. Now you need to develop technically and, more importantly, mentally. Yeah. He's a professional footballer. He's got the technical ability. Mentally, he needs to develop. He needs to just calm down, 2 steps, think ahead. Don't think in the moment. He can do that. He can become a player that can score 10 to 15 goals a season, maybe 20, if he is able to move forward. But that's the ceiling he should have for this season, is scoring 10 goals.
Yeah, totally.
For DCL, I would say it's 20. And then players like Ndai, 5 to 10, Lindstrom, 5 to 10, McNeil, 5 to 10, Harrison, 5 to 10. You want to see these players getting some goals. And if we can do that and set those targets for ourselves and just find a way to make it happen, find a way to get ourselves in positions and play the football we need to play. Yeah. And it could be a really fun season for us, I think.
I hope so. I would love to see us score some goals. That great expected goal stat line is getting really annoying. I want the actual goals.
Especially because we lead it all the time. Like, 2.3 expected goals. We have no goals.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What the heck? All right. So we're going to get to the Q&A portion of our show, which is the last little bit. Let's just go to Irvin Koeman real quick. Do we think DCL stays now or leaves? I think we both answered this already. We think he'll stay. Unless he scores 20 goals in the first 3 games, and then he'll get sold. But yeah, I think he stays. I think it's dragged on a bit. I'm sure he's probably more keen to just get on with his football, and he's also still getting sound bites from Everton. So I'd assume that there is maybe even still this hope that he would sign a new contract with us. Even though he's rejected it, we're still it's still there if you want to sign it. Just take your time with it.
And I don't think he's I want out the door. He's just at the end of a contract. I'm entertaining other things, and I'm moving on if that's what it is. So
do the best for myself and my family, as a new kid and stuff.
Yeah.
We are overlords at Toffee Blues. Had a couple questions for us. First and foremost, what are some of the best comedy films? What do you think?
You catch me off guard. I don't get to know these questions beforehand, and you get to think about them.
It was on the sheet. No, it wasn't, was it?
Where on the sheet?
It wasn't. My bad.
It's okay.
No, let me answer first. I'll answer first.
Yeah, you answer first.
So best comedy films in my mind, I'm more of I like certain actors in certain comedy films. So I'm very much a Jim Carrey guy. Love Jim Carrey's movies. So things like, freaking Ace Ventura. I loved the Ace Ventura movies. I loved Mask as a kid. Just his slapstick, facial humor, all that was really good for, always thought it was funny. I like some Adam Sandler stuff. I like some Will Ferrell stuff. I'm just kind of naming all
That's
the
a
huge
no from
dominant
me.
actors. You don't
Will
like
Ferrell is
Ferrell?
a no from me.
I understand. He's a bit more like, I'm just shouting. This is my humor.
Yes. Oh, it just is. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm just a no. I'm not a Will. I'm sure he's great. I just don't like his movies.
And to be fair, he's got this whole thing going on with LAFC and all that. He
Yeah.
gives me some Alexi Lawless vibes sometimes, where he just kind of thinks he's so much better than everybody. I don't want to diss Will Ferrell because I do like him as an actor, but there's just the vibe I get from him personally sometimes. It's like, oh, I'm a big tall guy. I'm just better than these guys. I've accomplished so much. Like it's a very like, because you know how
I
Alexi
think it's
Lawless.
his way of being comedic, but
Yes,
you
true.
know how I'm not saying this about Will Ferrell. You know those people who crack jokes and you're like, I think there's something behind that, and you're kind of being like, facetious. Like I can see that.
Yeah. Oh, I totally.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my time to think. What about you?
The first movie that came to mind was Caddyshack. I love Caddyshack. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's an old golf movie.
Yeah.
That I laugh a lot at. But for some reason, Steve Martin movie, like Steve Martin as Pink Panther just like cracks me up. It's just anyway.
You're like 40 years old. That's crazy. Steve
The
Martin.
Pink Panther.
What else? He was in Cheaper by the Dozen. He was in.
Yeah, but that's not like a that I don't think is like.
Cheaper by the Dozen was a comedy.
Oh my god. I think it's like a fun family movie. I don't know. That's what I would consider it.
But family comedy.
Like Pink Panther, I just can hear him talking, and it just cracks me up.
Can we get
I was
L
about
in the
to
chat
quote it, but I'm not gonna give my impression of him.
No, give your. You have an impression. If I can do my Scouse accent.
No, I actually don't have an impression. It's just I quote that movie all the time.
Hamburger.
Yeah. Are eels in that bag? Not even a small pair of pumps?
If I do not get off this plane, I'm going to explode! All right.
I don't know why that's the movie that comes to mind. I'm also on a New Girl kick. That's a show. I think New Girl's like the funniest sitcom.
Shows. I like Still Game. I'm sure plenty of British people know what Still Game is. It's a Scottish sitcom about pensioners. And it's only funny because the accents are great. I love the Glaswegian accent. It's great. But it's mostly like a pretty like the biggest issue. I love the show that it's just the continuity of the show is like kind of all over the place. Like certain characters have a kid one season and the next season they don't have a kid, and what the heck's going on? Like whatever.
Oh, that's tough.
I know. Regardless, doesn't matter. It's not like it's a show that relies on like a timeline of events. So,
yeah.
All right, and then the last question that we have is from the same people. What current Everton player could you see running for president of the United States? Oh, Quinn, do you need me to answer this first again? It's fine. I already know.
Could I see? Okay, I have a clarifying question.
Talk.
I don't know if you're the big boss of this question or not.
Well, of course.
This question asking like, who could you see running off of like them choosing to run, or like who would I want to run?
No, who could you see as president, running for president? Not who you want to. I don't care who you want to. I want to know who you think could.
Anyone can run for president in this country these days.
Why don't you just give me an answer instead of biffing around?
You said you were going to answer it first.
The obvious answers to me are players like Seamus Coleman and James Tarkowski. The captain material players, the leaders, etc. But I think the real winner for me is Dwight McNeil. And it's only because he just salutes every time he scores a goal. He's just got that American spirit in him. I think the American people would love some Dwight McNeil. He goes out there, he scores a goal, he's like, that's Dwight. Dwight, president. Dwight for president. And that's Dwight for president. Dwight is right. Come on.
I am going to go like hard left turn on your answer because I'm going to go totally different. I'm just like, where some of American politics are these days. It's like, who can make the biggest fuss? And Neil Mopay obviously can make the biggest fuss on social media.
No, not Neil Mopay. No. I didn't even think of him.
I just
Oh,
think about Twitter politics, and I think he's your guy. Anyway,
I can't believe you just said Neil Lopez.
well,
Second round of L's in the chat for Neil Lopez. That's
I
crazy.
gave my.
That guy needs to
I
be
gave my.
gone. Sorry, y'all.
You didn't ask who I wanted to or who can I see. Well, that's my answer.
Sounds like you're beating around the bush. Anyways, Neil Lopez is from Quinn Bezin.
That's the one. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all we've got, folks. Don't have any other questions for you. GBL, I do agree. Doncaster, Villa, Burnley, Fulham would be a great exact run of cup games, even though Villa are like a really decent squad. I don't know. I just want to see us make a cup run. Doesn't matter who we play. We can play Doncaster five rounds in a row for all I care. I just want to see us do something this season. As much as it's just been like a relegation battle and losing all the time, I don't like. Yes, it would be nice to have some consistency and sort of normality and like a 10th place finish. But I'm also not somebody who would be very satisfied with the 10th place finish. I'd be like, dang, like that was really boring. What did they just do with the past year? So I would love to see us really kick on and have something to really on this last season at Goodison. Even though, do you know what? Wait, I'll end the show on this. Do you know what I did once? I bought this book. I wonder if I have it anywhere. I do. I have it right here. Okay, so I bought this book, and it's, if you can see, it's English Football League and FA Premier League tables from 1888 to 2010. I bought this book. You know what I did? I went through every year and I took Everton's average position. I took Everton's position and averaged it out. And I think we ended up like ninth. We finished we on average finished ninth every season. And that.
Well, I'll take the all-time table over the average table then.
Yeah, that, folks, is not good enough. Not good enough. Ninth place for Everton. It's fine. I did the same with Chelsea, and they were like ninth too. So I think it's probably it's just the average is just going to finish in the middle in soccer. So yeah, well, that's that, folks. Been nice.
It's been great.
Been lovely.
I can't wait to do this every week, finally.
Every week. And we're going to have so much more to talk about as the season goes on because we're going to actually watch the games, Quinn. We're going to watch the games, Quinn.
I watched every single game last season. Forrest, can you say the same?
Yeah, I'm talking about preseason, okay?
No, you're talking about the upcoming season.
I'm talking about preseason because we were just talking about preseason, okay?
Okay.
Watch a game, so I had to.
Right. I didn't watch the preseason games. You are correct. Shame on me.
You're not a super blue. I get it. It's okay.
Oh.
You're not a top blue. It's okay.
That's painful.
Too bad. Well, folks, it's been good. It's been real. Up the Toffies. I know we'll all be around 3 p.m. your time, 10 a.m. our time, 9 a.m. her time, I think.
10 a.m. 10 a.m. East Coaster bus.
The Ohio Riz. Anyways.
I don't even know what Riz means.
Don't even lie to me. All right.
I don't.
It means charisma. Charisma.
Sure.
All righty, folks. It's been good. It's been real. Up the Toffies. See the game on Saturday, and let's have some good stuff to talk on in next week. I lose voice. Cannot talk more. Cool. Folks, there it is. The Dwight McNeil salute. Up the Toffies. Dwight for president. Dwight is right. All right. In a bit. See y'all. Good night. Quinn, you're supposed to say bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Now I can end the stream. See y'all.